In another, we saw parts of ourselves we feared to face. In another, we found the echoes of wounds that never truly healed. In another, we see the shadows we cannot face alone. We carry the weight of generations before, stories etched in our bones that were never ours to bear, but are ours to heal. It's not about blame or shame. It's about understanding that we're part of a cycle, and one day we are free to be who we truly are. Hi, beautiful souls. It's Tan back here again today with you on this Astrology Human Design Gene Keys channel, a space for the wild hearts. And today I've decided to touch on a very deep topic that's a little bit hard to talk about, but I went to a funeral today and I had a revelation in the morning as well. And all the themes building up today is just kind of leading to this topic of karmic relationships, including the weather as well. It just seems like the time to really talk about it because an insight has come through, and I think that it could be something that could be very important for this community that we have right here. So before you even begin to watch this video, or maybe after you've watched this video, I would like you to comment below what is your definition and experience of karmic relationships and share with us in the community. Because the first thing that I want to say about karmic relationships is that I don't really think there's one way to define it, because there's so many different concepts out there that is being translated from the message of the universe. And we talk about these are like translations of the universe. So there's really no one translation, right? If you read a book that's been translated from one language to another language, let's say it's been translated from English to Vietnamese, but that same book from English to Spanish, it's not going to be the same version as the Vietnamese version, because we're really talking and communicating with language. And when we use the word karmic relationships and the feeling and the experiences of it, it will vary according to the evolutionary journey of the person that is experiencing it. I want to first define karma in what I've understood from this throughout my life. And when I look at the word karma, and this is something that I've been taught ever since I was very young, because I grew up in a Buddhist family, we could say, is that when you do something, it comes back to you in return. Karma can be as simple as, let's say you hurt somebody and already it hurts you back, right? And karmic relationships are then, to me, defined as relationships where there is a ripple that's being created throughout the relationship, whether that relationship is affecting the entire world in some ways, and most likely it is. But that can also be in a sense of that two people are affecting each other in very significant ways, even though they may lead separate lives, whether they meet each other or not. And let's look at this from the astrological perspective. And I think that the planet in astrology that's very much associated, or the archetype that's associated most with karma, is Capricorn and Saturn. And when we really look at this planet Saturn, one of the most distinguishable features of Saturn, I mean, of course, there's the rings around Saturn, but there is also the 30-year cycle of Saturn. Every planet has its own cycle. But Saturn is that one cycle. That is the cycle of our maturity. And so we associate, of course, karma with, there's something cyclic about it. Maybe a 30-year cycle, we can say. But there's also this idea of once the cycle is completed, we go through a new maturity point. And that's how I kind of feel what karma is doing to all of us is, it's like a mirror that's right in front of us, and it's letting us to see how our actions are affecting ourselves, our well-being, and others, and the world around us. If we look at it from a gene keys perspective, I see karma here as gene key 44. And this gene key, Richard Rudd, really states that it is about karmic relationships. That's exactly what he says about it. And the reason why Jinki 44, which is a Scorpio archetype, is associated with karmic relationships is because this gene key talks about fractals, so soul fractals. And what happens is that throughout your life, you may meet people who are in the same soul fractal as you, meaning that they are part of the same evolutionary community, is a soul community, soul evolutionary community as you, or you might meet people from a different fractal. And when you engage in a relationship with people who are from your fractal, or you don't even have to engage with them, but you're just kind of going to be affected by the people in these fractal anyway. So when one person, it's like a spider web, they may be living somewhere else, but their actions are affecting you and your evolutionary growth too. Now, if you do, however, choose to be more engaged with these people, the effect is going to be more profound. But if you choose to associate with people who are from a different fractal from you, it could be possible that, because these fractals are like evolutionary stepping stones, right? Let's say that one fractal has gone further in their evolutionary journey than another fractal. And let's say that you are from a fractal that has gone further in the evolutionary journey, and you associate or have a relationship with somebody who is at a fractal that is less far along the evolutionary journey, their actions may be pulling you into that theme or lesson that you've already mastered, and you may also be pulling them towards where they need to go, but it may not be the right time for them. And that's why one of the most painful things that can happen is when you are associating or being in a very deep and intimate relationship with people that are not a part of your soul fractal. And you're at very different evolutionary stages of life. And because of that, it can be a relationship that is very painful to be with, because there's going to be a theme of a question of, well, why are you staying with them? What kind of fears, because the gate 44 is also in the spleen in human design, so it's all about fears and intuition. So it's kind of like, what fears of loss or fears of loneliness or fears of isolation are you currently not working through or dealing with? That's why you cannot let this person go. So that's how I would kind of summarize that. Now I want to share with you an experience of a karmic relationship that I have in my life, one of the strongest karmic relationships that I've had in my life. And this is like a really, an insight that really came through to me wholly and completely today. That's why I feel like it's time to talk about it. And of course, like I said, comment below and share your experience with one karmic relationship that you have in your life. And let's see how it turns out. And I'd love to hear it. I'd love to read about it. So, of course, I've had, just relationships with friends and, because they're lovers that felt very karmic. But I think that the one that is the most karmic relationship ever in my life is the one that I have with my father. And I've always had this sense and this feeling that there's something where there's an unfinished business and a tug of war between my relationship with my father. And it really made sense to me now. And of course, it made a lot of sense to me more back in like 2019, 2020, when a few years before he passed away, because he passed away in 2022. He passed away 2 years ago from liver cancer. But what happened was that, I grew up with my dad, and we've never really been very close. He's always been kind of a distant person, sun in the 12th house, opposite Pluto in astrology. So we've always had this like distant relationship where we don't talk very much, and I feel that I'm somebody that I always have to like walk on eggshells around him. And when I was younger, we had a lot of fights, we can say. So it's just a relationship where it was almost a non-existent relationship, besides from the fact that he provided me with a home, food, education. So these basic things were all provided for. But what was deeper than that, like this father-daughter bond, never really existed. And see, here's the thing that I want to share with you about my dad is that he had this dream. And I knew about this dream before, like a few months before he passed away. But he had this dream when he was younger that he wanted to own a farm. You can say a farm where there were different animals. And, he could bring people to his farm and sort of entertain them or nurture them and, have them enjoy his animals. That was just kind of like his dream. But, he had his own family pressures and pressures from his own father, which is my grandfather, to work for the government. And that's kind of the path that he had to go down because then he started having kids and he needs to provide for his kids. So we can say that he gave up his dream, he sacrificed his dream to raise me and my sister and to take care of the family. And he was unhappy, and that's why he got liver cancer later in his life. And so only after retirement, so after he was 60 years old, did he really became free. So once he left his job, he was able to sort of, pursue that dream a little bit by having his own home and garden. And, he loves nature. He loves to live in nature, right? He couldn't have all the animals that he wanted, but he could at least have his garden that he always wanted to have. And he changed, right? When he was able to finally relax a little bit more in life. But yeah, when he was, in his prime years, in his 30s, 40s, and 50s, he was really burdened by the obligations and the responsibilities of family and society and his own karma and trauma. So when he was about, I guess, I'm not exactly sure what the dates, maybe 63 or 64, we were undergoing a renovation in my home in Bangkok, and so I had to go live with him in his, sort of garden home in another province in Thailand. That was in 2020. And I didn't want to go, of course, because, I was never comfortable around my dad. I kept always walk on eggshells around him, right? But there was no other option because my house was being, demolished and renovated. And so I had to go live there. So it was me and him in his sort of garden home in the countryside for a whole week. And when I was there with him that week, I saw that he was actually such a nurturing person. He really cared about my well-being. He asked me every single meal, like what I wanted to eat. And did I have food yet? And do I like this food or that food? And he even helped me to make some videos for YouTube at that time. He was, holding the camera, helping me to film some videos for YouTube. And I was also making some astrology videos for YouTube. And, he was helping me to set up, stage, his garden so that I could set up my camera and sit there and film. And he was just a sweet person. Of course, he has his own reservations. He's not entirely an open person. He has this character where he's not, necessarily showy in his affection, but he would show his love and affection in other ways, like physically taking care of you, preparing space for me to film YouTube videos and stuff like that. And so I saw another side to him, a gentle, nurturing side that I never saw ever. I could never, ever, ever have imagined in my life, knowing him for 30 years, that he had this side to him. And it was only possible because he was finally free and living the life that he wanted to live. And he was so happy to have me there with him for a week. And so I found a place for him in my heart to forgive him, because there was also a lot of things that happened in in my childhood that was, abusive and really hard to really forgive. But I saw this changed man, and I opened up my heart to him and rebuilt our relationship for a little bit. And then in 2021, not even up to a year, maybe like a year after that event where I found forgiveness for him in my heart, he was diagnosed with cancer. And after he was diagnosed, he was fighting with it through chemo and surgery and radiation for about a year and a half. No, it was like a year and 2 months. 1 year and 2 months was when he was fighting with this cancer. But when we found out that he had cancer, a month after that, I had to be here in the Netherlands. I finally got my visa to stay here with my boyfriend in the Netherlands. And I had to move here in February of 2021. And we found out at the end of 2020. So like January 2021 is when we found out, and then February I had to move here, right? So the events and the timeline of things, you can kind of see how there's like this, I think this happens to all of us. It's like when somebody is about to pass and be gone from this earth, there's a way that the universe wants to let us know and send us these messages. But in 2022, in February of 2022, he passed away. And, after he passed away, there was a lot of grieving in my family. There still is, mostly for my mom, of course. But as much as I was grieving, there was also a part of me that felt free. And there was a part of me that felt like I was being reborn in a sense. Like I could become somebody that I could not become when he was still alive. And he didn't, boss me around in life. He wasn't telling me what to do with my life. He understood what I was doing in my life, even though it may be different from the traditional path. He never stopped me from that. But something deeper, like something more at a soul level, was really pulling me back from truly expressing myself and being myself in a fulfilling way. And after he passed away, that feeling of rebirth and freedom came to me. And I miss him very dearly, and I miss him every single day. And he visits me in my dreams a lot. And I yearn and long for him a lot every day. But there's also this part of me that also feels like I can finally live after he's not here. And this feeling is a very, very profound and deep feeling. It's very true and very real. And sometimes I make a joke about it and I say it's like Harry Potter and Voldemort, like neither one can live if the other survives. And that's something that I've been saying since my dad passed away. Like it feels a little bit like that. I've been telling my partner this. I don't know why, but I feel like when I'm alive, he cannot live his life fully. And when he's alive, I can't live my life fully. But one of us has to be gone for the other one to live fully. And, maybe it's because we're living in a different fractal. I don't know. But I also think it has something to do with cycles as well. And I want to share this with you because I just realized this today because I was diving a little bit into numerology. And we both have the same life path, both me and my dad. We have a life path 6. And depending on how you calculate it, sometimes our birthdays can also be 33. So it can be like a 33-6 or just a 6. Maybe it's like a hidden 33, something like that. But that's not the point. The point is that we have the same life path. And what I also discovered while I was sort of like in the shower was that my dad conceived me when he was 33 years old. That's when he knew about me. When he conceived me into the womb of my mother was when he was 33. He passed away when he was 66. So we were together. We knew each other. Our relationship lasted for 33 years. Now, that is not a coincidence. That is just a way too profound of a synchronicity. And the cycle of it, the karma of this cycle, right? There was that 33-year period where something was being worked through. And astrologically speaking, he also has Saturn in Scorpio, which is opposite to my sun. So it's exactly opposite. And of course, that is the Saturn indicating that karma coming in again. And I really feel like it is a theme of maturity here. And, growing up as this child that I've always felt I had to grow up way too early. I had so many obligations that I had to pursue since I was very young. And it was very weird for me being the bigger sister as well. I lost my childhood, my inner child died since I was very young. I feel like that. And now I'm in hypnotherapy and I'm reclaiming that inner child. I'm reclaiming my self-worth, my innocence, my play, my creativity. And I've really found for the very, very first time in my life how much I love to create. Like it's insane how much I create and how much I love to create. And this is like, it feels like my life force has come back, right? And that had taken a little over 33 years to figure out. And maybe that is, the sun opposite Saturn and how, his Saturn opposing my sun is putting this, the rings of Saturn, this boundary on my life force. And that's what I've been feeling. And that's when, he passed away, that it's almost like those rings of Saturn left and my sun gained its life force back. And I don't know if it could have been any different if he is still alive, but I don't think it could be different, just because of the ties of our soul and of our spirit. And as much as I may not, physically or emotionally, mentally connect with him, my God, I connect with him so much spiritually now, especially when I dream. In my dreams, his spirit is always with me in ways that I cannot even explain. One other thing that I also want to mention here is this sense of fate, almost like this is the plan that the universe has. Almost like my dad had to do all of these things to, support me in this way, to sacrifice for me in this way so that I could be the person that I am now and live my life in a way that is worth the sacrifice that he's given me, in a sense. So it's almost a little bit like a responsibility, but at a spiritual level. But at the same time, it's a responsibility that doesn't feel like it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility that I can play with, that I can use as a container for me to dance, to create, to flourish in. So yeah, I think that is that's all that I wanted to share today about karmic relationships. So comment below how you feel about what I shared, if you want to share about your own personal journey of karmic relationships. And I want to send you guys so much love today. And at the same time, I do want to share that if you are on this channel and you really love astrology, human design, and the gene keys, I have a community that I'm currently building, but it will be launched later this year, maybe in September or October. But I'm really excited about that. And stay tuned for that. All right. Give this a thumbs up if you like it, and leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel if this is the first time that you're watching it. And I'm sending you guys so much love today. Bye.